to our informational webinar on emerging leaders in learning innovation, known as LE. So thank you for coming and joining us today. And we're going to go through some information on the program, and then at the end, we'll have some Q&A. But I mean, if you really have a burning question, please use chat. Let us know. We can answer. We have lots of folks here that will most likely have those answers. So as we move to our next slide, I want to just really look at our mission here. And this is really for KCI, the KCI Cross Center for Innovation. We really look at empowering our educators around innovative practices and looking at that motivating and challenging, inspiring diverse learners of the future and leaders of the future. And that's really what LE is about. And as we move here, I think this is such a great new slide. And Justin and Kate, do you want to talk a little bit about this one?
Sure, I'm going to let Kate take that because she had designed this.
Yes, after having brain children with the team. So yes, what we wanted to do was articulate, think about all the programs, Merit, LE, and our STEAM leadership program, our Makerspace programs, several of our other smaller workshops, and really think about what are the threads that bring them all together. And the beauty of the rainbow really struck us, and on so many levels. And thinking about equity and access being at the core of what we all do, and then allowing each program to put their own spin on what growth mindset means to that particular cohort, what a solution orientation looks like in the classroom or in leadership, how they embrace innovation authentically and regularly, and how they develop a community, a supportive community, not only during a cohort or program, but long after. Staying relevant and clued into the best practices, to the research that's going on, and obviously responding to shifts that are happening at a pandemic level. And finally, again, embracing a creative spirit, an attitude of yes and really looking for new ways to articulate what the future is going to look like in classrooms across the globe. And so here's our rainbow, our core principles.
I love that. And we want to start now by introducing ourselves. I'm Jen Gibson, and I am part of the KCI outreach team, also AKA evangelist. So it's really nice to meet you. I'd like to introduce the rest of our team here. We have Justin. Justin, you want to share a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, Justine Sewell. I'm the Director of Programs and Partnerships, and I get to work with these wonderful people here.
And then we also have Martha, which many of you have probably talked to at some point in your journey.
Yeah. So hi, everybody. Nice to see you again. And if we haven't met in person, we've met probably via email. So I'm looking forward to maybe getting a chance to meeting you over the summer.
Martha's that friendly person behind the emails. And then Kate, you want to share a little bit about your role?
I'm 8 days old in the KCI land. I officially joined the team as the Director of Strategy and Marketing on March 1st. Before that, I worked with so many of you through Link class over the years. I've been adjunct faculty since 2016 and a fangirl of the KCI for as long as, as I've been in the world here. So I am thrilled to be a part of the team and help shepherd and amplify the amazing work that we're doing and that you guys are going to do.
And if you see a social media post that comes from the KCI today, it is celebrating Mario Day, March 10th. And Kate made an amazing infographic. You should definitely take a look because it is fantastic.
We'll throw it up at the end to celebrate.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, and we're going to get to Rushton. Don't worry, because that is important to this. But we need to introduce somebody else. And Gay, I think you're here. I saw you come in. Yes. Gay, are you here?
Yes, I am.
You want to introduce yourself, Gay?
Sure. I'm Gay Krause, and I'm the founder and director of the Cross Center for Innovation. We've been going for 20 years. We're celebrating our 20th year this year. And we've served about 22,000 educators in the past 20 years. So I'm a long-term educator and excited to be here to learn even more. And I've worked with many of you on the call, and certainly all of the staff.
Thank you, Gay. And definitely this is a community of impact. So now I need to introduce Rushton Hurley. And Rushton, as we get started, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself, your involvement with the KCI and merit graduates in particular, merit enrollees, and then we'll talk about this question.
Absolutely. So hello, everybody. I'm so jazzed to see so many people joining in on this little shindig this afternoon. And for those of you I haven't seen in a while, darn good to see you. Now, a little bit about me. Before Merit was called Merit, it was called Earn While You Learn. Subtle. And it was a good program, right? A really good program. The very cool Chris Hoyman ran that when I was a participant in it in the mid-late O's. After Earn While You Learn, there was a program that became known as the Fellows Program, and this was an attempt to take folks who'd been part of the Merit experience, or what is now called the Merit experience, and to help them reach another level with what they do. So that program, lots of good things from it, but it did not persist, and we are very much interested in seeing a new path for a lot of people who are looking to make great things happen in their schools and their communities, and jazzed to tell you about it tonight.
I'm so excited to learn those new things I didn't know about Earn While You Learn. What a cool name there. Someone's going to have to catch me up on that. So, okay, Ellie, who is this for? We've kind of talked a little bit about it. Who is it designed for?
So the basic idea with Ellie is emerging leaders in learning innovation. I like that learning innovation can be interpreted in two different ways, depending on the part of speech that learning is, right? Is the idea is that there are a lot of teachers who want to make a difference in their communities. They may not be thinking about becoming campus level administrators. That may not be the path that they have in mind. And that might well be, something that's a part of the future, but they want to know how to make a difference now in the community. How do you do that? So if you're staying in the classroom and you want to make good things happen for your students and your families, and just make sure that something is happening at a level higher, more broad than the classroom, because for so many teachers, that is a missing piece for how they think. And I think that we've done some real good in putting together a program that's going to allow people to see possibilities they hadn't seen before.
I love that. And I was one of those teachers, and the only pathway was the admin credential. I did it, but it really didn't fill me the way something like this would have. So I appreciate that so much. And our next one is really, okay, I hear you. So what are these outcomes that I can expect by participating in Ellie? What is this going to result in for me?
Sure. So when you think of outcomes, there's a lot of different ways to think about outcomes. But for us, there is this sense that, crafting and implementing a project is kind of the first and central outcome, but it's not the only one. In order to do that really well, there are a number of skills that you can develop as a part of taking something that for you is very important and making it happen. There's a lot of design thinking skills that are part of this as well. But I look at outcomes in terms of, do you know how to pitch an idea? Can you present in compelling ways, right? Can you identify, reference, and even generate good data? So when we talk about data, there's a lot of data-driven, and the question is really like, well, what's good data? And how do we talk about those things? And how do we use it in order to make new things happen? So one of the key pieces of this program is to be able to think of research at a much higher level than it is usually bandied about in an educational environment.
Well, thank you for that. And those are really important skills. I think that gives so many different opportunities to those of us who didn't want to go in a different direction there. So when I look at this next question, what does that look like as a professional?
So many teachers, there's something very important they don't realize about their work, and that is that there are so many ways to make it easy on those with resources and connections to help you help your students, right? There are a lot of avenues out there for making interesting things happen, but a lot of teachers wait for other people to tell them to, now you can do this, or that or that, as opposed to more actively stepping up to say, I'm going to make this happen. And so once you know the kinds of things you can do as a teacher to say, well, I'm trying this kind of thing in order to achieve these kinds of results. I've learned this so far, and I want to work with these people at the school or these people at the district, and try to tap into funding streams that they may have or connections they may have in the community. I think that and this comes back to the outcomes, right? One of the outcomes becomes you end up having having a new sense of yourself personally and professionally, but also having more fun in what you do, which I think is very important for making cool and interesting things happen at a level that will inspire students.
And Jen, can I add something?
Yes, please do.
Great. And one of the things that have come up that someone had asked me about the program was, how is this different from, let's say, a master's program where you have a capstone project and you do something very similar? And I think there are a couple differences here. The first is that generally when you're going to get your master's in education, it tends to be at an earlier stage in your career. And we're really encouraging veteran teachers to be stepping up to this. And so you're taking it from a different perspective and thinking about it as a veteran teacher. Now that I've been able to hone my craft in the classroom, what does that look like? And how do I bring that out into these other communities and other avenues, like what Rushton was saying? So that I think is one major difference. The second difference is that it doesn't end with a paper. And I feel like the paper is kind of like a really, like, you have this wonderful project that you do, and then all of a sudden you put it down on paper, you submit it to your professor, and then that's it. But with this, at the end of this program, we're creating a kind of a TEDx type of symposium where there will be, nonprofit leaders, for-profit leaders, county office leaders, district leaders, school leaders, people who are going to be those decision makers that are going to see what you're going to be doing and why it is impactful. And hopefully that gives them inspiration to think about how they actually manage their districts or schools and what that may look like. So this isn't just a thing where you just put it down on paper and you go from there. This is where we're really we really want this program and the participants in this program to create something really special and meaningful, and really drives change within their district.
Justin, it makes me think about it's a way to open a door into community, but also thinking about thought leadership. How does one become a thought leader? Well, it's by starting to participate in these sorts of activities and communities. And Rushton, I wrote down some notes here. Being able to, analyze data and go into that higher level of research, that's part of it, right? For me, had I had this kind of formal training, I think it would have really given me that framework for that flexible future. Fortunately, that happened through other means, but this is just such a great way to get involved with people like yourselves, but also, as Justin mentioned, those outside that you're going to bring in. So let's go to our next question here.
I think Gay has something to mention.
Oh, yeah.
No, thank you. I was just going to add, and one of the other benefits besides what you've been hearing about is also that we're always looking for great instructors at the KCI. And so we're thinking that in the ELE program that maybe we'll find stars that would like to teach with us as an adjunct instructor. So I just want to add that to the pie.
And
okay, we hear that. That's great.
And one more thing, that as those participants are going through the program, part of the experience will be working with some of the merit participants who are going through the merit program, which is a feeder into this, that you'll be there as a mentor and as someone who will be able to provide advice, and not a sense of, that you're going to be doing the projects with them or anything like that. But this is just an opportunity to kind of start building that leadership role.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a good question because a lot of us are working from home, working at school, doing some of both, maybe, who knows, but how do we do this? What is the workload like? What does this program require of us to be involved?
So this certainly requires regular time. Anyone who's been through merit is going to have a good sense of, all right, well, there are these days in the summer, there are these other times. So strictly speaking, if you look at what's happening in the summer, there are 5 days where we'll meet, morning to, afternoon, and that's the summer intensive part of Ellie. But in each of the quarters, the other quarters, so the spring quarter, the fall quarter, and the winter quarter, there are also 3 evening sessions, 90-minute evening sessions that are part of it as well. So that requirement, the attendance requirement is a piece of this for sure. But the idea is that the workload itself is something that is spread across your experience in Ellie, as opposed to having these times when a big set of things is due on this date. It's different than that. We're thinking much more about the development of a project, having that project be something that's important in the community, showing the kind of leadership that you're capable of doing by understanding the kind of things that we're going to teach you, being able to convey those stories in powerful ways as well. So there's a lot of ongoing work. So I would say that for someone who says, I hate it when there's this kind of intense set of moments. Fewer of those. For people who like to be able to spread things out over time, this program will be built in a way that I think speaks to your personalities. So absolutely, I hope that in looking at this, we're probably going to get people who have plenty on their plates already, because those who see themselves as leaders in some way, or leaders to be, are people who don't tend to ignore the kinds of cool things that are out there. So the idea is to work with you so that there is a flexible approach to a number of pieces. We'll be working collaboratively on exactly what evenings we use in the spring quarter, in the fall quarter, winter quarter. So the workload itself is kind of an ongoing piece, because there is overlap probably with what you are doing with people at your school. It may be that there is a real value there to being part of a program where you're getting some guidance on that as well.
Thank you. And we can answer questions at the end on this if anybody wants to go in a little bit deeper. Mm-hmm. So, all right, I'm interested, Rushton. How do I find out if I'm eligible? What are those requirements?
One, you've completed merit, right? Oh, I know this wonderful person who hasn't been through merit. She's perfect for this. Got to go through merit. Okay. So if you're like, I'd love to do this, but I haven't been through merit. Great, apply to merit. So all good there. You do learn a lot about the way the KCI works, the way the KCI works to inspire people, the way the KCI works to support people in schools and things like this, by being in merit and getting that sense of, what is it that we're trying to accomplish. So with that in mind, it's like, well, what are the other pieces? 6 years of teaching experience. I will say that if you say, well, next year is my 6th year, then talk to us, because I think we're flexible on that front. If you're like, I'm 2 years in, you're not there yet for us, right? Bless your heart. But we do want to make sure we've got people who've got plenty of experience under their belt as they look to make some good things happen. So if next year is your 6th year, then stay with us, right? The third piece is the attendance. Like I mentioned before, you need to be at those summer days. You need to be at our evening programs as well. And like I said, we'll work with you on choosing exactly the dates for that. And then finally, you need an endorsement from your principal or a district administrator. So we do need someone who knows you professionally to be able to say, yes, this is a person who does have a lot of a lot within them to be able to make something happen, and has hopefully, the kind of communication skills that one might need. We will certainly help you sharpen those. But you've shown that you're ready. You're ready to do this kind of thing. So completion of merit, at least 6 years of teaching, a little flexibility on that sixth thing. Attendance, in what we're about to do, and the endorsement of a principal or a district administrator.
Okay, and all of the details as far as when that's all due, we've got that for you. So don't worry about that. You've got a little bit of time. But thank you, Rushton, for summing that up. And it makes a lot of sense that to do this program, you do need to have the background for it. So, Rushton.
There's a
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, there were a couple questions that I didn't want to lose in the chat.
Sure. Yes.
So wondering if there's anything solid on the dates in June, or are those TBD still?
TBD with the group that we accept.
Okay. And
they will likely be distanced, by the way, right? And so be planning on that. We're essentially looking. One of the things we learned this last year. So those of you who were in, the first 19 merits or previous programs had one experience. This year's group had a different experience because we've still never all been in the same place, but we adjusted what we did in order to be able to help folks be ready to go when the fall rolled around. And that was probably one of the most successful pieces of this for everybody. The idea that what you experience is something that should that should sync with your current experience as a professional is something that we're very attentive to. There are some other pieces in there. If someone asks about the cost, $75 is a registration fee, and then we handle everything else, everything, including everything it costs to go to Q22. So if you're like, I love Q, but it's really expensive to be in the hotel and the food and the flying down there, we're covering that. All of it. All right. So, well, more specifically, registration, right? Travel, room and board. So if you're going shopping, we won't cover that. But the idea is that you are going to be someone who is taking part in exchanging ideas with other teacher leaders from around the state, around the country, around the world, and that you are someone who can say, yeah, I want to make this stuff happen. So when the question just comes up, what are you most excited about? For me, it's that thing of helping teachers understand they're capable of making a difference in their communities, right? To move beyond a sense, a rather compact sense professionally of who teachers are. There's nothing wrong with anybody who dedicates themselves to what they do in the classroom. That's fine. But there are more opportunities for teachers than most teachers understand. And that's where we want to really kind of begin to jump in and say, hey, do you know how to contact people in this space, in this space, in this space to get support? Do you know how to pitch your idea in such a way that you're likely to get the support you want? Do you know how to reference the kind of work that has been out there before in order for people to have confidence that you know what you're doing? There are a lot of little pieces to how that works that we think are going to be very exciting for the participants in Ellie.
I love that. I think that is such a great concept there. And I also think that it will help so many of our participants not have to work so hard when you know how to collaborate with others in your community. So that's also a benefit. Well, I didn't even read the next slide, but we're talking benefits now. So what are those benefits of being an LA graduate? And can you just, speak to a few, but I'm sure that you're going to even find more with this cohort.
So there are some formal benefits to the different pieces that come from this, right? So in addition to being able to, be funded to go to Q, which is a way cool thing. There's 6 units of Foothill College credit. That's a benefit for sure. There's a California State Certificate of Achievement in Emerging Educational Technology Leadership. Say that 3 times fast, right? But all of those things are good. That said, the piece that for me, I think is the biggest draw is something that you will recognize from your merit experience, which is this. When you are in merit, just like all the programs at the KCI, right? You are connected to peers who are interested in doing really interesting things. That's big. When you have the chance to talk with somebody about taking things to another level, that's big. And in order to be able to think about what's possible in your school, you want to be able to draw on the ideas of others. Those connections are critical, right? And I have been a very blessed dude. I have worked with teachers and school leaders and students all over the world over the last 10, 15 years. And I'm really excited to be able to bring a lot of those experiences into the space where we're talking about the kinds of things that have always been powerful about KCI programs and merit in particular, and be able to say, hey, let's take things to a next level.
Thank you, Rushton. And I really love the idea that merit gives this kind of formalized recognition of being able to open some doors. The certificate, the graduation from merit isn't just about, saying you've completed this and you're done, although that could be it. You've got these great skills that you've learned, but you also can start to say, hey, Rushton, I'd like to do this. Who do you know that I could do this with? Maybe you want to write. Maybe you want to present more. Maybe you want to get that out there and start to collaborate. I see all of those opportunities coming about because of something like merit.
Nice to say, yeah.
Here we go. It's Q&A time. So we've talked a lot. What kinds of questions do you have for us? What are you thinking about? And just, tell us, let us know.
I'd be happy to start if that's okay.
Good to see you, Kelly, by the way.
Rushton, great to see you and so many of the other folks who are at the meeting as well. I think my question is in regards to the project that will be, seems like kind of the center, the core of what we'll be doing in the LE program. To what degree do you feel like, people should be coming in with a really clear idea versus, if that's like, I've got a really clear project idea on one end of the spectrum and like, this sounds great. I don't know what I want to do, but I'm open to figuring it out through the program. Where do you see people ideally being?
Kelly, that you're painting the picture the right way, right? Because if we think about that spectrum, the really clear idea obviously works, right? The other end of the spectrum that's like, I really don't know, but I'll figure it out along the way. That actually does not work, which is not to say, again, coming back to the accuracy of the picture you painted, is not to say that you have to be on the other end. It's more that you can articulate the idea for a really powerful project. You are not held to the idea that you put in the application, but you should be able, even at this stage, to say, this is something that I think would be very important in my community. Here's how I think I'd go about it. And that's what we're asking you to do in the application. We are asking multiple times in this application another question that I think sits right alongside your question, which is, we keep asking, how do you measure things, right? How do you know that this is a good program? What is it that and some people say grades go up. All right, well, that's a start, right? But, is there more? Is there more that you can kind of point to that allows us to see that you are in a good position to learn to advocate via good research? And so that's I think the branching answer to your question as well. Justin asks, what if our initiative is much too ambitious? I'm going to change the world. Yes, one step at a time. And so actually, I think it's very, very important for us to know that to accomplish anything, big, small, you really do need to be able to think in terms of what is that next step. So if I want the staff lounge at my school to look a lot like a Starbucks, that's not happening in the next week. But being able to value the people who are part of your team by bringing in gourmet coffee once a week and just having it available is a step in that direction. And it's a step that actually says something very powerful about how you think about the people you work with. Now, obviously, as a teacher, you wouldn't be doing that. That's more of an administrator thing. However, it's a good example of how to think in terms of moving in the direction of doing something more interesting. So Tim, if you put in an idea and it's really, really ambitious, we might be helping you scale it down a bit. But on the other hand, we also want people to think big, right? What is it that can happen in your community? And as you begin to show us, this is what I have in mind for these reasons, this is how I think I'd measure it. My guess is that you're probably going to end up in the right space in terms of ambition level as we go.
And I'm going to add just one more thing as well. And Justin, I completely understand, and maybe it's the name Justin, I don't know, but I've had those same issues when in my evaluations when I was teaching. You have these real elaborate plans, and you want to bring everything to the table, and that it creates this, like, it's almost like you're getting in over your head. And I think the benefit of this program is where, like, part of the instructor's roles in that are going to be providing you with that feedback to help narrow down that project into something that is attainable and that will be able to continue. So that's part of the program, is thinking through that program. But I think in the application, if your idea is too big, or you think it's too big, I think we'd rather see a bigger project than something that is very small and inconsequential, because we want this program to be driving change. So that's just to answer the question. And there was another question up here about the administration recommendation, that ideally we would like to have the principal be the person to recommend you. However, we understand that there are instances when you're in a large school where maybe the principal is all the way up here, and you work more closely with the administration, the assistant principal. That's totally fine. I think we just want someone who can say, yes, we know you're participating in this program. Yes, we support you. Yes, these are the reasons why. So we just want to see that validation, but the principal is preferred. But if you need someone else, then just let us know, and we can, work with you on that.
I'll add that Maggie asked a question in the chat that Misty gave a great answer to. So I'll refer you guys to the chat on that one. Soda Sensei, you have a question. Go right ahead.
Yes, I have a question about you said the project, and then it is a kind of the vision. So to have my school do something, or to have in my class and then have students creating something, and then that is one question. And then second one is, so what are we going to learn at this program? Because everybody has a project, so like a kind of individual, or
okay. So let's look at those two things. So the project should be much more than a learning activity that you've crafted in the classroom. When we think about the community, the question is, first for anyone, how would I define community? Well, the community might be across your campus professionally speaking. It may be that you are trying to do something that has to do with your students in the community, and you've seen a particular need that you want to address in some way. So that element, I think, is very important, that you're thinking beyond just your classroom. The second question about what you're going to learn. So, and there was a question earlier in the chat about, so is this like the Google Certified Innovator program? If you think of the Google Certified Innovator program, and if you don't know about it, it's okay. But if you think of it as a program that's really designed to be able to use EdTech well, and there's a project, but it's in essence, it's about EdTech. This is less about, we're going to train you to use specific pieces of EdTech. All right. At this point, actually, people tend to know. And ideally, you are comfortable saying, hey, that's not something I'm familiar with. Could we explore it some? That's totally fine. It is different to be able to be someone who can present effectively, know how to pitch an idea, know how to talk about needs in such a way that your idea is something that might have legs and get support. So in a sense, we're going to use technology, of course, with KCI, but the idea is to be able to do something that actually ends up making a difference in the community. And there's a set of skills related to how you make that happen as someone who doesn't just say, wait for other people to say, you may now do this, right? As an example for, back in the day, right? I wanted to get some computers in my classroom. This was like 1999. All right. And we were partying like it was 99. And at that time, I was excited about this new thing that had come out. iMovie. Oh, wow. Wouldn't it be cool to get some iMacs, those big, heavy things? Your chiropractor's like, come on back in, right? And get those in your classroom to be able to do this. I spent time at the school during the summer, like checking in with people, and went to one of the people who was in charge of one of the funding streams, right? And I said, I'm interested in doing this and this. Can that work with what you've got funds, to use? And he said, it could, check with the principal and make sure the principal likes the idea. Principal's like, sounds great. Go back and talk to him. Went back, talked to him. He's like, all right, let's get it ordered. And he said, I think we're going to order it in August. And I said, that's okay, but I would love for us to order it in July, because I'd like to get some practice with this stuff to be able to know how to be able to best use it when we get in motion in the fall semester. They're like, all right, yeah, we'll go ahead and order it now. I'm like, thanks. Which turns out to have been a really good move, because like 3 weeks after we ordered it, the district was like, complete freeze on any expenditures. Well, I had something coming in. And we were able to make really good things happen with those computers. Now that story, there's a lot of little elements to that story. How do you connect with people at different times? How do you talk about what it is you're trying to do? How do you make the case for how that's going to align with what they're trying to make happen with the resources that they have available to them? How do you then come at the end of it to show, here is what the students have done with it, and people are really excited about that? How do you spend funds in such a way that people are like, that was really, really good that we spent those monies in that way? How do you make that case? So there's a lot of non-technical things that will be an important piece of what we do in Ellie. And so I hope that answers the question. But we'll explore tech to whatever degree we need in order to achieve those other goals.
Thanks so much for joining us. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to the KCI instructional team. And for more information and to register for our upcoming Ellie program, please visit the URL on the screen. Thanks so much.